It was the year cycling fans will never forget. A season that seemed scripted by destiny itself. 2025, the year King Pogi ruled the cycling world. The story begins in chaos. Protests disrupted the Vuelta a España, riders switched teams mid-season, and controversies dominated the headlines. But amid all that noise, one man made the world fall silent: Tadej Pogačar. From the cobbles of Flanders to the mountains of France. From spring classics to the world championships. He was everywhere, and he was unstoppable. They called him King Pogi the Fur, and 2025 was his empire. In one single season, Pogačar achieved what most riders would dream of across an entire career. Let's look at the record that redefined dominance. 4 stages and the overall win at the Tour de France. 3 stages and overall victory at the Critérium du Dauphiné. World Championship Road Race, Gold European Championship. Road Race Gold Tour of Flanders, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. La Flèche Wallonne, Strade Bianche, and comme his crown jewel, Il Lombardia, for the 5th straight year. That's 20 professional victories in 2025. 2 more than rising French sensation Paul Magnier, and far ahead of everyone else. For most pros, that's a dream resume. For Pogačar, it was just another year. Inside UAE Team Emirates XRG, the numbers were staggering. The team closed the season with 95 total wins, an all-time record in cycling history, and 36 of those came from just 2 riders, Tadej Pogačar and his young teammate Isaac Del Toro. It wasn't dominance anymore, it was dynasty. But what makes this story fascinating isn't just how often Pogačar won, it's how inevitable it felt. Throughout the year, rivals like Jonas Vingegaard and Remco Evenepoel tried everything to bring him down. Evenepoel ruled the time trials, and Vingegaard took 3 stages and the GC at the Vuelta, but only in Pogačar's absence. Every time they faced the Slovenian champion head-to-head, the result was always the same. Vingegaard finished second, 11 times. That's not rivalry, that's submission. Commentators began to ask the question no sport ever wants to face. When one man is this dominant, does it kill competition? Are riders lining up to race, or just to fight for second place? It's a fair question, because in 2025, the script was predictable: breakaway forms. Pogačar watches, waits, and then, like clockwork, launches a devastating attack that no one can follow. End of race. Another win. The world watched in awe, but the peloton began to show signs of resignation. Some said he was too good, others said he was too perfect. But one thing was certain: the rest were left racing for scraps. Still, not everyone accepted defeat. Enter Paul Seixas, the 19-year-old prodigy from Lyon, riding for Decathlon AG2R La Mondiale. He may not have the palmarès yet, but he has something that matters more: belief. In 2025, he made headlines with 3 wins in the Tour de l'Avenir, a 3rd place finish at the European Championships, and a stunning 7th place at Il Lombardia, a race Pogačar won for the 5th consecutive time. When asked on Eurosport if he truly believed he could one day beat the king, Seixas didn't hesitate. "Not right away," he said calmly. "But we know his best performances. We'll train to try and beat him." That's sport. He wasn't cocky, he was determined. "The goal," he added, "is not to beat him when he's on the decline, but when he's at his best." Those words turned heads across Europe. At just 19, Seixas wasn't intimidated by the throne. He was studying it. But while the men's peloton was dealing with its own king, 2025 also gave us queens. Because across the women's field, the story was no less dramatic. Lorena Wiebes of SD Works Pro Team had a season for the ages, 27 victories, including the Gravel World Championship, making her the winningest rider in the world, male or female. And yet, she didn't dominate headlines the way Pogačar did. Why? Because she's a specialist, a pure sprinter. She hasn't yet conquered a Grand Tour general classification, which is why her brilliance, though equal, was perceived differently. Still, cycling purists know her 2025 campaign was historic in its own right. But if one race captured the emotional core of 2025, it wasn't Pogačar's or Wiebes. It was the Tour de France Femme and Pauline Ferrand-Prévot's redemption story. At 33, the French champion finally won her nation's home race, conquering the Col de la Madeleine with an incredible solo ride. It was the first French Tour victory, male or female, since Gini Longo's last win back in 1989. But what followed was even more powerful. Criticism. Not about her tactics or her skill, but about her body. The sacrifices she made, the training, the weight control. People questioned her choices. She didn't flinch. Ferrand-Prévot answered them with honesty and dignity. Because my preparation was so hard for the Tour, now I don't really see myself doing the same again, she said. It's been good, it's paid off, but it's also been really hard. It's so much sacrifice. She stood as a symbol of balance, that greatness can come from both fire and fragility. She even admitted, I don't necessarily like competition. What drives me is preparation, setting a goal and doing everything to achieve it. And yet, when asked if she'd defend her title, she smiled and said, winning once is great, but doing it twice could be even better. That's the spirit of cycling, resilience dressed in humility. Back to the men's side, every season needs a storyline of rebellion. And Matthias Skjelmos provided one. At the Amstel Gold Race, he pulled off a stunning upset, beating both Pogacar and Evenepoel in a photo finish sprint. It was chaos, it was unexpected, and it reminded everyone that even kings can bleed. But one rare defeat doesn't change the truth. 2025 belonged to Pogacar. In the Giro d'Italia, drama reigned again. UAE teammates Juan Ayuso and Isaac Del Toro clashed internally while Simon Yates staged one of the greatest comebacks of the decade. Pogacar pausen neskem, you beat cup, snatching victory on the penultimate stage thanks to an audacious move aided by Wout van Aert. It was vintage Giro, messy, emotional, unpredictable. Yet even in races he didn't attend, Pogacar's shadow loomed. His dominance forced everyone to raise their game, to attack earlier, to train harder, to dream bigger, so as Tuesdamen 25 came to a close. The question was whispered in cafes, forums, and comment sections. Is Pogacar too good for cycling's own good? It's an interesting dilemma, because dominance can both inspire and suffocate. But look closer, and you'll see the ripple effect. Young riders like Seixas, Magnier, Del Toro, they're not quitting. They're chasing. They're using Pogacar as their compass, not their ceiling. That's how dynasties shape eras, not by killing competition, but by defining it. Pogacar, meanwhile, remains his usual self, humble, playful, almost disarmingly normal. When asked how he handles being the most dominant cyclist of his generation, he simply shrugged. I just like racing my bike. And maybe that's the secret to his reign. No ego, just joy. He doesn't ride to defend a throne. He rides because it's fun, because it's what he was born to do. 2025 will go down as the season he reached mythical status, where he blurred the line between man and machine, power and poetry. He's been compared to Eddie Merckx, called the Cannibal 2.0, but there's something more human about Pogacar. He's less about destruction, more about delight. When he attacks, you can see it. That childlike spark, that love for chaos, that hunger for the thrill itself. The peloton fears him. The fans adore him. And the sport, whether it admits it or not, needs him. From Strade Bianca's white gravel to the brutal slopes of the Tour de France, 2025 wasn't just a year of dominance. It was a masterclass in consistency, courage, and creativity. Pogacar didn't just win races, he owned moments. He reminded us that cycling is more than numbers and watts. It's about art in motion. As the curtain falls on this unforgettable season, the legacy of 2025 is clear. Tadej Pogacar didn't just rule the cycling world, he reshaped it. And somewhere out there, a teenager like Paul Seixas is training in silence, dreaming of the day he'll stand on the same podium. Not as a rival defeated, but as a successor worthy. That's the beauty of cycling. Kings rise, kings fall, but the road never ends. 25, the year King Pogi ruled the cycling world, and perhaps the year cycling itself was reborn.